92.5.
XTU.
Quiet on the set.
We never
Scared me.
New movie Inside Out coming out here in just a few more weeks, and Pete Docter and Jonas Rivera are joining us, producer and director.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys
Should
are
we
a couple
clap
of
for
big
ourselves?
wigs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
go
can.
ahead.
Okay.
There we go.
If you clap double time, it sounds like there's twice as many people here clapping.
Hey,
It's a
right.
big deal.
That's an old
Makes a big
radio
difference.
trick, huh?
Yeah,
love it.
well,
Okay.
see, I'm old radio.
But you
Use
guys got some big movies under your belt. Talk about those.
Well, we both started working on Toy Story back in the, when was that?
20 years ago. I mean, Toy Story came out 20 years ago.
Isn't
So
that crazy?
I know,
Yeah.
it is. This is Inside Out's Pixar's 15th movie, so we've worked on almost all of them, at least a little bit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
well, you directed Monsters and Up.
Yep. We worked at Jonas produced on Up, and now this one, Inside Out.
So I'm thinking though that like when you guys were growing up, you didn't even know that what you're doing now was possible. So
It didn't exist.
where did it start for you? How did you become who you are today?
Well, honestly, it was like when I was a kid, I loved Disney movies so much, and my parents took me to Disneyland when I was like 4 years old, and I fell in love with it so much I wanted to just work there or to have something to do with Disney. And I remember having
Jonas
a book.
is still trying to get hired at the churro stand.
I'm still trying to get hired. They won't hire me.
Someday.
So Disneyland, if you're listening. But I got a book about the making of animation, and it was sort of this like, oh my gosh, the people do this. It's not just a movie that pops out of someone's head. This is made. And I want to do that. I don't know what I want to do because I wasn't a great artist, and I'm still not. But I love the films, and so it just inspired me going to the park and seeing the process a little bit as a kid made me want to do it.
So the old animation, is that like what you'd see in the cartoons where it'd be like a drawing and then another page, another
Donald
page, and
Duck.
slightly
Yeah,
making
right.
move?
Yeah, that's how I started. I was just making little flip books in the corners of my math book, which got me in trouble, but it got me hooked. So, every drawing is a little different than the last one. And that's really what we do with computers, only it costs millions of dollars instead of, 50 cents for a piece of
And
paper.
you don't get that big bump on your finger then anymore,
That's
right?
true.
From
From
writing them.
Pat-
So do you remember your first animation?
Yeah, I made a movie about this guy who rows a boat, and then I don't know why he has a drill, and he drills a hole, and the whole boat sinks. Yes, that was it.
That's the
Very
end.
clever.
We call it a short.
Pete does though. He still does animation on flipbooks, and he sends them out to all his friends on Christmas cards. So my kids, we collect them. So you get like
No
a little
way.
little movie for Christmas, which is really cool.
Yeah,
That's
kind
We
of
love animation.
chronicles the kids growing up,
Can I give you my address?
Yeah.
Gives you regrets.
Now, Jonas, I read you said you were not good at drawing, right, growing
No,
up?
I was a terrible artist. So it was this frustrating thing. It's like I wanted to be an animator, but I knew I wouldn't.
But he thinks like an artist, and he understands the process, which is what makes him so valuable as a producer, because he knows like what's necessary at each stage and how this thing gets created. Imagine his job. He's at the beginning when I'm pitching this amorphous, like, okay, it's an 11-year-old girl, but she's the setting because in her head are these emotions, right? That's what we're going to make the movie about. And Jonas has to figure out how we're going to do that. It has to be done in 5 years, and the budget and the schedule, and it's pretty crazy.
Right.
So what is the average time that it takes to make one of these movies?
I mean, for us, about 5 years. It's about 4 to 5 years from first idea to that it's finished and out. It's a big hunk of our lives.
It is. And then is that all that you're working on, or are you working on several projects at once?
Well, at the studio, there's a ton of stuff going on. There's another six films, I
It's
think. right now.
primarily all we're doing. Although,
Yeah.
but Pete is a senior executive of creative at Pixar, so you kind of pop into every film and help guide it with the John Lasseter and Andrew Stanton, and I work with the other producers on other films. But our jobs are producing Inside Out and directing Inside Out for the last 4 or 5 years.
And Pete, you created this story? This is yours?
Well, I mean, I get to work with a great
Right.
group of people, writers and story people. But yeah, I kind of had the initial concept, and then we developed it slowly, piece by piece.
Well, as a dad, is it something like the Riley character, is that based on one of your kids?
Yeah, well, it was my daughter, if you saw Up, she did the voice of the young Ellie at the very beginning. Her name is Ellie, actually. And she was a lot like that character until she turned 11. And then she got a little more quiet and, kind of changes happen. And you kind of, as a parent, you're like, oh, I miss goofing around on the floor, with them. And that's not going to happen anymore. And that's kind of what this film is about, is growing up. And it also takes you inside the head and tries to explain why that happens.
So as awesome as that sounds to me, and I'm a mom, so I know that I'm going to be dealing with all of this stuff in the future and stuff, I can't help but think, from her perspective, does she hate you for making her life a movie?
Well, what's funny is I'm not sure. Well, I certainly didn't tell her while we were making it. Hey, I'm watching you every day and trying to make a movie about this.
Creepy.
And that door's been locked
Do
for
that
quite
again. I
some
need to
time.
do that.
there.
Here we are on the radio saying it.
So I don't think she really knew about it until somewhere like halfway through. And she's now seen it, and she's like, watched the movie and like, cool movie, Dad. So I think she liked it.
Yeah, she liked it. I think that, all these movies, I think one of the reasons why they work, and even Up, they're from a personal observation. It's a director-driven studio at Pixar, so all the movies and the stories come from the visions of the directors, and we rally around and figure out how to get them made. But to me, if you're going to spend 5 years of your life, like the reason I was able to do it, because I knew what Pete had pitched was a truth. There was something truthful about that. And I'm a parent as well, and we figure like everyone's either had a kid or been a kid and been through that shift, that change, or have observed it. And as a parent, it's really hard and emotional. So we wanted to dramatize that, but in a fun, really cool way. We thought of these emotions like Pixar's Seven Dwarfs a little bit, like they could be really fun, gettable characters. But we want to tell a really meaningful story. That was our goal.
I think that's what you guys have, you really captured the essence of being able to make a cartoon for adults, right? So,
Yeah.
parents are taking their kids because it's an animated feature, and the kids are like, come on, we have to go see this new movie. Pixar came out with a new movie, we have to go. And moms and dads are sitting there like, this is our lives. We can all totally relate in some way to all of the movies you put out.
Well, good. That's our goal. Yeah,
It
even if
is.
it's about cars or bugs or monsters or whatever,
Yeah.
you want to have something that you can feel like, I know what that guy's going through.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of adult, not that it's dirty, but a lot of adult humor that sometimes might go over the kids' heads
Yeah.
that you do. Which the one line we just saw in the trailer was about the pizza in San Francisco. They brought
Yeah.
Oh,
pizza.
Yeah.
We look at it like we look at the movies that we grew up with, like Dumbo or Bambi or something. Like I see those films very differently now than I did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I saw the fun and Thumper, and now I see them as these really dramatic stories,
Right.
still with that whimsical fun. And we hope that we do that a little bit with these movies, so that they age with you, so that they're not just for one age group, but they are literally for everybody. Or it's just that we are like 8-year-old kids. I don't know, maybe that's
Probably.
it. And so we make what we want.
Do you start
Kinda.
the animation immediately, or do you wait till you have your actors set before you do it? 'Cause sometimes I notice they look like the actual
Funny.
actor.
Yeah.
We actually wait, and we don't animate until we record the voice. The voices come in pretty late. But
Yeah, in fact, most of the time, by the time we cast them, we've already designed the characters, and then we sit and we listen to voices and we go, yeah, that sounds like it would come out of that design. Then we record, and then we animate. And so in the end, when people say, oh yeah, Mike Wazowski, he looks just like Billy Crystal. I don't know how Billy Crystal feels about that. But
yeah, I know he doesn't look anything like it, but he moves like him maybe, or has the
Right.
expressions like him, and so we really key off of the performances of the
I think
actors.
that's what it is. It's the
Right.
expressions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's the facial expressions and the mannerisms and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's genius how you
the
guys are able to
animators
do
at
that.
the studio are just fantastic. They're able to capture these great gestures and nuances that are very truthful.
This is cool. Now, where's the industry going? Because it's incredible right now, but 20 years from now, this is going to be considered old and something. Do you guys see anything on the horizon as the next way to go as far as
Jonas
animation?
is developing a pill form that will allow you to ingest the film.
And then you
So much
sleep
easier.
and see a movie. No, it's so weird.
Is it?
No,
Yes, it is.
it's hard to say. I think about animation. Was it almost like seasonally, right? And you had talked about with Joe Grant saying
Yeah.
that was a mentor of ours back from the old Disney days. And I remember seeing like The Little Mermaid when I was in high school and going, oh wow, like it's back. This is going to be a new, it just was so exciting. Maybe it reignited my love for animation. And I think every few years there's a film like that I hope does it for young kids and
things, yeah.
kicks the next generation off. But technology is just going crazy. There's all kinds of talk about new things. But what we're always focused on is just story. Like, what's the story? What are the compelling stories? And it's usually almost the simpler, the better. We always just try to pull it down to like, what do we want to see? And I think no matter what happens with movies or 3D or software or whatever comes out, it's got to always be about storytelling. So that's what we focus on. We are lucky we work with this group of computer scientists that can kind of do anything that we think up, you know. And so there's kind of no limits on. Well, I want to fly a house with 1 million balloons and have it blow through. Okay, we can figure that out. Or
in fact, yeah, that was funny when we pitched that. They were like, "All right, according to our calculations, the average weight of the house would require 3.2 million balloons." Is that really, you know? So they're very sort of
so
math
therefore
based.
it's impossible. We're like, well, we
Come
don't
back
need
with
that
another
many.
movie.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. So the movie opens up June 19th,
Right.
Inside Out.
Yeah.
And it's great meeting you two
Thank
guys.
you guys
Thank
for
you so
having
much
us.
for coming out.
Thank you.
Double time.